I'm your co-host Brian, and joining me as always is your co-host Jim.
Good morning, Melbourne. Because it's like 8 in the morning
Is
in
it?
Melbourne.
Yeah, it probably is,
Yeah.
isn't
Nice.
it? I don't know if any Australians will hear us.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
dude. We have like a big Aboriginal
we
following
we know
in the
no
Philippines.
Germans will hear us right now, which is really
No, no,
sad.
they.
Just
Yeah.
really sad.
They're
Oh,
real
so
big
are
fans.
we on the YouTube
We're doing the
now?
YouTube, folks. We are doing YouTube. The
Uh,
poll numbers are in. YouTube is won almost 3-1.
so what's
Um,
so what's the URL for this? It's
no,
games.youtube.com.
it's gaming.youtube.com/c/Space Game Junkie.
C like Charlie
Yes, C is in Charlie.
slash.
Space Game Junkie. I'm pretty sure
How
that's the
did you get a
URL.
cool name like that?
You have to
Mine's
have
all
five.
jacked up. It's like
You have to have
alphabets.
500 subscribers on your YouTube channel before they'll let you have a custom URL.
Oh my god! Quick, everybody, go to
I
Alien Pickle.
I
And
know.
take
Go
take
to
your
Ro-
stock out of Space Game Junkie.
No. You can
Invest
have.
in Alien Pickle. It's
Yeah, I'm still.
ad money.
Yeah, I have the same problem with Rogue Game Junkie right now. Is that I can't do that with it yet. Sorry, folks. I'm still getting over this cold, so I might be coughing. I'll try and mute myself, but FYI, just every now and then you might hear some phlegm. So, folks, we have a guest this week. Our first time three timer.
Three
Uh,
peats.
this is our first third time guest. Welcome back to the show, Paul. I'm not going to try to say your last name.
Hey guys, what's been happening since I talked to you guys last? Let's catch up.
Well, let's see.
2 years.
Rebel Galaxy came out.
That looks great. I saw your video of it this morning.
Let's see. Thank you. Elite came out. That's really it. I mean, that's really all there is worth talking about. No. Other stuff has happened. Lots has happened, actually. All kinds of crazy stuff. But speaking of crazy stuff, you, sir, have a new Kickstarter going, which I was surprised by, for a sequel to Void Destroyer. And and I gotta say, I'm really liking what you're doing. Now, folks, if you haven't played Void Destroyer 1, it's balls hard. It is punch me in the balls, and I'm going to enjoy it hard. I'm sorry, Paul.
In fact,
It's true.
Paul is here to apologize to you all
No,
for that first level.
No.
It's,
It's tough, but
if you've seen the second level, you're a
here's
better
the
man
thing,
than I.
though. Here's the thing. If you have Void Destroyer 1, Paul released some free DLC, which turns it into like an open university, privateer-y, elite style game. Not like fully blown, but it's like a concept type thing. That's like the precursor to Void Destroyer 2, which, am I right? It gets rid of all the scripted stuff, and now it's
Exactly. Yeah.
now it's purely open.
There's still going to be like scripted missions.
Sure.
Things
Sure.
like that. But it's not. It's not like leading you along like the first game. The first game was great from that regard. It was just really simple, one step after the other. It was great to release the first game first,
Right.
and then be able to like, okay, let's work on the second one. Let's make it open this time. Just a bit more complex, complicated stuff like that. But
It
yeah, the
is.
second game is going to be a open sandbox. So to me, really, it's like I'm working on the same game for the
Right.
past whatever years. To me, I'm just like keep working on the game originally that I originally wanted to make, but took a little detour, which I just think is going to work out really well.
Right. So I've been playing this, guys. You can just go to voiddestroyer.com and get this prototype, right?
Yeah. So, well, how does the free room stuff work in the first game? Because I was unaware of that. I just
So
found
in
out,
the
so I'm gonna
first
go download
game,
that.
it's yeah, it works pretty much like you're going to see Brian demonstrate here, where you have this overworld map that looks sort of like Mount and Blade-ish, where it's you're like a little tiny ship, and you right click where you want to go. The map is 2D,
Right.
and then you go to different locations or anywhere in between. If you get attacked or you switch to space or whatever, then you get that location type of thing. So there's asteroid fields, there's bases, it's like radiation fields. You go from base to base, you pick up missions, you do them. You go to an asteroid field. In the prototype, these things don't exist, but in the Void Destroyer 2, you'll be able to buy like transport ships and mining ships, and they can work for you independent, kind of like in X2, I think,
Yeah,
where you had like the universal trader type of idea.
Yeah, most of the X games I think allow that kind of functionality.
But then here you'll also have like mining ships that will do their own thing for yourself, or like civilian transporters, like repair ships. The nice thing is that whatever the AI can do, you can do. So if the AI can have like transport ships doing their thing, you can do it. If they can have repair ships, you can have a repair ship fleet. Or you can be a pirate. You can attack those repair ships type deal. Oh, I think you're going to get murdered, Brian.
I probably am going to get murdered, but that's okay. I wanted to see this. I wanted to, oh shit, there's oh wow. Okay, yeah, I am definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm going to include a Brian button. Actually, I included it this morning. What that is there's going to be a distress signal button.
Yeah.
And yeah, when you're in trouble, you can press that button, and like the space cops will show up and help you out. That's only if you're near the space cops.
Funny.
But of course, like, distress signals means that like pirates can also pick you up, so you can actually even call pirates to you, or you might be able to set up ambushes, stuff like that. But unofficially, it will be called the Brian button. Officially, it'll be the distress signal. But we'll both, and everybody who's listening to this will know it's the Brian button.
I seem to have lost the ability to control my ship. How do I get that back?
Hit F6. Yeah, that's or F7. Yeah, that's a bug with crew control. Sometimes it still sticks in when you change from one to the other. You see that little face guy?
Yeah.
Helmet guy? Click on that guy.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Yeah, you clicked it again.
Oh, damn, I rammed him. Whoops.
You click that button again or something. You toggled it on according to the stream.
So one thing interesting that's happened in the interlude between us talking to you and this game coming out, and that.
Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, the one thing that's interesting that did kind of change in space games is because this game is inspired obviously a little bit by Homeworld, so the actual Homeworld remastered dropped out, and so it's kind of like everybody that was waiting around for, it's like, well, I wish there was another Homeworld, and it's like, well, hey, guess what? Now you got it. So the original thing is back. Has that kind of changed the direction of this for you a little bit? Like, are you looking at like, I now I'm going to be like more of a not that.
Homeworld,
it's not so much like you were really emulating it, but
Yeah, Homeworld inspired the real-time strategy portion of the game. But the space combat portion was inspired by every other space combat game and myself, my history with them and every other space combat game. So it's really just it's a combination of many games, including Homeworld.
Mm.
We got some questions in from the audience. Like, can your weapons be upgraded, because the weapons here drain pretty quickly?
So this is the most basic fighter you can have. Well, no, wait a minute, is it? Oh, yeah, it is. I'm sorry.
Oh no, yeah I got murdered.
You have two guns on this ship, and those pirates you see over there have like chain guns, and they're the starting pirates, so they have like these chain guns which fire really quickly, but they're not that accurate, trying to help you out, sort of a thing.
Right.
Yeah. So there's what happens with the difficulty is that around where you start, the missions are significantly easier. If you look at the mission screen, it'll say like novice, competent, things like that. If it says novice, that's the ones you want.
Okay.
You don't want anything competent, because that's in your ship. That's gonna just murder you. So you need to fly to Trading Outpost. Pick up that courier mission to Trading Outpost 01.
Okay.
And that's going to be a super easy mission. And basically, you just have to fly from one spot to another. You may get attacked by a pirate, but so the novice missions, what they'll give you like AI wingmen.
Oh.
So yeah, it's not going to be like Void Destroyer where, you're going to get murdered right away. You will get murdered if you go to like a high level or higher level asteroid field.
Right.
But pretty quickly, you're going to upgrade your ship to one with many more guns, and then you'll buy like AI wingmen with you.
Oh, very cool.
You know what I mean? So it's you might struggle the hour or whatever. You know, hopefully, space gamers are used to difficult games, or at least games with a bunch of
You should be.
controls and things like that. So you might struggle a little bit through that. But once you sort of get the idea that, hey, you should really stick to the milk runs until you get a handle on it and get a better ship. Um,
Oh, did
that
I already work there?
that's kind of the idea. Yeah. So like the courier mission right now, that's like your milk run. You know, it's you smacked into the gravity of the whatchamacallit there. Just gotta kind of go through it. So once you so the courier missions like your milk run go from here to here. You might get attacked by a pirate, but there's like clear asteroid field missions. There's like defend the base missions, things like that. And then eventually, you know, you become Space Emperor and you conquer the entire map.
Really?
Yeah. So, and then of course, you know, it's going to depend on the player. If the player wants to go that route, or if they want to stay in a small fighter or a bigger fighter or whatever, it will kind of depend on the player in that sense. Yeah, just make sure you don't hit that red circle, because that'll push you back into space. Looks like you got it. So Void Destroyer was a mix of real-time strategy and space sim, and Void Destroyer 2 is going to be the same mix, but it's going to be more up to the player to decide that mix, whether they want a fleet or not, or a fleet of economy ships, or a fleet of pirate ships. Like if you conquer a pirate base, you'll have like you'll essentially become a pirate if you want to, and you can have like ships that steal cargo pods. Instead of delivering cargo pods, you're stealing cargo pods. Yeah, there's like two pirates that are gonna go after you.
Yeah, they got me quick.
Yeah, you want to stick to that sort of.
I was heading to that first base, like you told me, and they intercepted me.
Yeah.
That I could see them coming too. That was kind of neat.
Yeah, they got you.
Let's try this again.
Yeah, don't pick up any mission, just fly over there. Or actually, you know what? Just start from scratch. Start from a new game.
Okay.
And just pick up a clear asteroid field mission right from the beginning area. And it'll say like novice.
I can do that.
And that'll give you a bunch of AI wingmen, and then
it also has
be attacking one at a time.
It has a tutorial thing. I don't know if Mr. Placeholder is gonna. Oh, I guess not. Oh yeah, there's Lieutenant Placeholder. I'll go through this shit so you guys can see it. But yeah, there's Lieutenant Placeholder. She's pretty. So apparently, you know, it tests your flying and shit. So that's kind of.
You can skip that too. You can just like fly into the.
Can I?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You get like 1,000 credits, but that's enough to like repair you in case you
bumped into another ship or something.
Yeah, you can just like fly into the hangar. You don't have to worry.
I still enjoy the cell shaded look of everything.
How do you like the blue background? So the blue background is kind of controversial.
It's a little weird. It makes me feel like I'm stuck in a beach ball. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So there's the background, and there's the sort of there's a 3D object around the background.
Yeah. Now what is that about?
So the idea is that the player is like basically it carries on from the first game who the player is. Remember those chainsaw ships? I don't know if you ever came on those, but there was like this faction that was like mercenaries, and they were basically like prisoners, convicts, gamblers, people in trouble that sold themselves.
Yeah.
And they were like strapped into ships and sent against whoever they were paid to attack. So you're one of those guys now, or you were one of those guys after the story of the first game. It all makes sense if you played the first game. But basically, you're partially a cyborg. So your eyes are essentially, you know, not all there in the human sense. There's no. Yeah, do that defend base civilian.
Oh, do that? Okay, hang on.
That should be pretty reasonable. There's no asteroid fields to clear yet. They haven't spawned all the ships yet.
Okay, I'll do
Okay,
that.
see, I felt like it was like you were on some kind of a holodeck or something.
So the idea is that sort of 3D whatchamacallit, sphere, I guess is what I call it. The idea is that that's supposed to like help you orient yourself. A lot of times in space games, it's kind of hard to know where up and down is, type of idea.
Yeah, but
So
I
maybe
think,
I haven't quite nailed it, but
well,
sometimes
I
I
think
do
it,
things.
I think it would be cool to be able to toggle it and maybe have a traditional skybox behind it or something.
It's
Because
definitely going to
that
be toggled, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
good. Okay.
So there is a skybox behind it. So it's actually a separate thing from the star field that you're saying. It's like you can actually fly beyond that sphere, and you're outside of the current sort of area. It's also like a navigational tool too, but it'll be expanded on and things like that.
Okay, so I don't know if are you in the chat for the YouTube
Yeah,
chat, Paul?
yeah.
Because
It's
there's
not
lots
going
of
to be.
questions. There's a good
There's not
chunk.
going to be any safe syncing.
Okay, cool.
The first game had a few branches to it, and I don't think you're the same actual character. It's hard to decide, but chances are you're not the same actual character from the first game. You're not that person. Although I guess it's, who knows, twists, right? Plot twists.
Oh, gasp!
Now, what would be funny is if you could import that character, but it wasn't you, and then you had to kill him later. Then,
No, what you gotta do is totally Jefferson Clay that shit. That's what you do.
oh yeah, make him the AI.
Make
and
him the
shit.
fucking AI. That's right. That way you have the same character in every fucking game. That's right.
See, like now this mission is a lot more reasonable because you don't have like 5 enemies against one of you.
Just me. Yeah, exactly.
You got like 5 different. So you can still like die in it depending on
Right.
bad luck, you know.
So, are you going more for like a pilot experience than, because the way that I played the other game, even though you could jump in the ship and fly it around, I felt that my attention was more in the RTS part, so guiding stuff around the map,
So
and I
that's
didn't really have time to jump in a ship.
So the thing is that you have time with time dilation, or if you don't feel like that, you don't have to play it one way or the other. That's the idea. Now, whether that works or doesn't depends on me, depends on the player, depends what mood you're in. It's all kinds of stuff there. But initially, you're more of a pilot, at least.
Okay.
And
So
then
would it be
then you
possible?
choose.
Is it possible? Like, let's say I get a bigger ship, right? But I want to stay in my ship and then command all my allies from that perspective. Is there a way to kind of do that?
Exactly.
Or
Yeah.
am I going to
Yes.
have to go out to the map and?
Nah, you'll go to that. You'll go to the tactical mode like before. So, like in games like Battlezone, for example, you would sort of stay in the same perspective and you would issue orders. In Void Destroyer, you switch to like Homeworld, kind of sort of a thing,
Cool.
So it's
Yeah.
going to be like that. But with time dilation, which is basically a pause, you're going to have enough time for anything,
Yikes.
Not going to have to be worried about that. Plus, battles will be overall, at least in the beginning, they'll be overall smaller. But everything is scaled up. Like even this base is huge compared to the bases from the first game. So the battles will be smaller in the beginning, so you'll have more of sort of time to adjust.
Mhm.
Like in this screen is that we just saw. That's where you'll do your first upgrade. You'll buy a turret for that ship, like a defensive turret. So like that mission is novice, so that's perfectly fine. You're good with that.
So how much of the game is actually here in this demo?
This is very basic. First of all, it's cut down on content, so the map is like sliced in a quarter about. A bunch of the ships are removed that exist, but this is very basic sandbox. It's very basic GUI.
But I could recruit a couple of ships and fly around and
You
actually.
can, you can buy the ships you're seeing Brian flip through. You can buy those ships.
Right. Cool.
And you could like take that mining ship, the one that's just selected now. You can take it and you can order it to mine a field, or you could mine a field with yourself, using it as yourself, or just let it go by itself, or you could escort it or
That's
stuff like
pretty
that.
awesome.
So it's pretty basic. It's pretty basic right now. Like even those elements they work, but the interface is not that great. It's not explained anywhere. First of all, you have to like figure it out yourself.
So
So
how are the factions on the map? Is it like you're the only good guy and then you have to take over everything, or is it like there's good guys, bad guys, and
so you're not a good guy or a bad guy. It's up to you. It's going to be up to the player. What I want to do is a lot of space games. You're either forced to be a good guy or you're forced to be a bad guy type of thing, or you could never be one or the other because there's no real distinction. So what I want to do here is I want to make piracy like a bigger issue. Whether it be good or bad, piracy will be a good issue, and it works either way because like if you're good, well, you got good pirates to hunt. If you're bad, well, you can be a good pirate. What I mean by a good pirate is not somebody who just like wants to blow everything up, but by somebody who wants money, like ransom, right? So you'll be able to fly to a ship and say, hey, give me like 1,000 credits or whatever. I'm going to blow you up, And depending how good of a pirate you are is whether he'll give it to you or he'll say like, whatever, man, And then you got to prove yourself by shooting at him, basically, right? And if you are bloodthirsty, then other ships are not going to give you money because they'll be like, well, you're just going to kill me yourself, So you got to sort of have a fine line, right? So if you want to be a pirate, you'll have these tools to be a pirate. If you want to be a good guy, you'll have tools to hunt pirates, Or if you want to be neutral, and you're like right now, Brian, in this tiny little fighter, and this ship is coming at you, you could contact that pirate and give him 1,000 credits. He's not going to kill you.
Oh, really? How do you do that?
You can't right now.
Oh, but now that will be an option, as you're saying.
Yeah, or you can hit the Brian button, and the stress signal will sound, and you'll have that option too, Or here's an idea I just had this morning. You can hit the Brian button, and the cops show up and you can ambush them, or eventually they won't show up because you're a bad guy, so you can tell a transport ship to hit the Brian button, so the cops show up to help the transport ship, then you ambush the cops, And all this stuff is easy because this is not 3D math or whatever. This is text boxes,
Yeah, so let's say me as the player, I just jump in here, I just sit out in space and just watch the world go by, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So is there different AI groups and they're just living their own lives and doing stuff?
Yeah.
So they don't need me to trigger things.
So right now there's 2 pirate factions. One pirate faction is more about ransom. The other one is more about like stealing cargo. And there's going to be there is a bounty hunter faction which hunts the pirates, or is going to hunt the player.
Ooh.
There's the military faction from the first game, which is going to be the police force and the significant power in the game, and it's going to be fighting the alien guys from the first game most likely. And there's also going to be the rock guys, which are sort of neutral. They're going to be doing their own thing. And then there's the civilians. Oh man, they got you, huh?
I was out of the station for like 3 seconds, and this is a beginner mission.
Yeah, I'll have to work on that. I'll have to work on that to give you like a few seconds before you're targeted, because that'll ruin somebody's experience. They'll post a negative comment on the game.
I'm gonna try it again because I want to see if this happens again, because that was honestly pretty damn funny.
There's some unfortunate randomness with games, especially like sandbox games, but we'll definitely work on that type of an idea, Yeah, but you're doing these basic missions, then you'll buy the bigger ship.
Exactly, that's my plan. I want a better ship. You son of a bitch, get back here. Yeah,
hit your escape key real quick to cancel that cutscene. Put the escape key in.
Oh, I just hit the tab key and just tried to afterburner away.
Okay, that actually might be a better idea.
Oh, really?
So these pirates are interesting because they have like these rock shields.
Rock shields?
Yeah, they have like they have a piece of rock stuck on them. You can blow it off. But if you shoot the rock, they're not taking damage,
Oh, wow, that's fun.
They're overall like a weak faction, but they have this crazy chain gun. Which at close range will really like get you. You can see it right now. It's really, there it is. It nailed you, So yeah, difficulty still needs a lot of work, That's gonna be major focus. That was a major criticism in part 1. Like these defend defend missions. These probably won't pop in right away. They'll pop in like after you clear an asteroid field and the pirates get mad at you and they attack the base, type of a thing. That's what will happen. And in the game, there's so much randomness and variety. Like right now, you could just boost away, you know?
That's
And
kind of
speed
what
is-
Oh, they killed a good guy. Oh, shit.
And speed is like so very important here. And then your first upgrade is going to be like a defensive turret. So you'll just have like a turret constantly firing on your enemies in this ship even type of a thing.
So you'd mentioned about the difficulty level of the first game, and kind of the lesson learned from that, right?
Yeah.
But have you considered going back and tweaking those missions down a little bit in the first one?
I considered that a lot, and I told myself I was going to do it, and then I ended up not doing it. There are like difficulty options in the game. There's a cheat button in the game where you click it and all the health of the units gets lowered. There's also a take less damage button, like 25% less damage. So you're lasting a quarter of the length longer, So I thought, I mean, the buttons are there, the difficulty buttons are there.
Well, what I think I would like is, because I don't want to cheat to beat it, right? But if you would record a video of you doing it, and then just be like, hey, this is how it's done, right? And it's probably because I'm sure that you can probably whip it, because you made it. So
yeah. In general terms, I do. Yeah, there's some missions that are hard even for me, but in general terms, yeah.
Yeah, because it's that first one I think is like the showstopper for a lot of people. I know for me,
What
Brian.
I should have done is I should have put a mission in between the first and the second mission, as I call them.
Yeah, to kind of
Yeah, because it feels like two.
point.
It feels like two missions. It really does.
Yeah, but you have to replay the first one right? So
Like I should have tossed another one in there. By the time I realized this, there was like story-wise it didn't have made sense. I didn't have the assets, that sort of a thing. Yeah. But it's funny because a lot of players say it's too hard, and some players say it's too easy. And I'm always scratching my head at times.
Well, I think what the deal is it's just the technique, right? Like, because you had your intent of this is how somebody's going to play this, and you test it for that, right? So it's like, well, if it's hard enough for you, but it's not too hard, then that feels about right. But somebody else might approach that in a different way that you didn't intend.
Yeah.
And then it's bitching hard for them, or somebody might find a cheesy way to do it, right?
Yeah.
So. But Brian and I fall into the camp of obviously we're doing it wrong. So
you're not exactly doing it wrong. Like when I watched Brian play the first part, it was kind of interesting because like, okay, I see like all these enemy ships come in, and Brian sort of like, I'm sorry, Brian. It's like you sort of almost panic, and you're like, oh my god,
I kind of did. Well, I'm also very emotional, and I overreact.
That makes you good to watch, But you're kind of like you're sort of frozen by all the possibilities in a way.
It's true.
And you don't.
Not wrong there.
And like me, I like hit time dilation. I got all the time in the world. I breathe. I take like 10 breaths, and then I execute like 5 different commands and switch to the other ship, and then blow this guy away, switch to the other ship. You know what I mean? I realized that the way I play is ridiculous.
Well,
I played
it might
the perfect
also
way,
be,
and that's what I balanced it against. That was like a big mistake. But
Well,
game balance is the hardest thing to get right, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if you want us on this thing, as you progress, throw us builds and we'll kind of focus test it. And we've got friends that would love to probably jump in on that too, and that way we can kind of give you a temperature of people like us that suck at games, and then we know some people that are really good. So and maybe like record some stuff. Are you open to like people streaming it while you're developing it?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm gonna need that.
Okay.
The thing was, here's the funny thing. Okay, so I mean, the first game launched on early access, and I was getting feedback, but I wasn't really getting that much feedback about the difficulty. Players, maybe they're like, okay, it's hard now, but it's gonna get easier or something. I don't know exactly what the deal was. You know what I mean? But it's sort of like blindsided me. Everybody's like saying it's too hard. And maybe it's like early access players were more into space games or something, or were more into The mix of it, I don't know, but there was definitely a huge influx of players at release.
Right.
Maybe there were a little different players. They were less early adopters. They were more looking for sort of the experience. I don't know, but I was kind of actually blindsided by it. Yeah, I definitely don't want to repeat that. So it's going to be
Well, it's cool to know that there's that DLC that you made that's out there, so I can just bypass that stuff and actually experience some more of the game and maybe
The
teach
funny
myself at
thing
my own
is-
pace, and then come back to the story once
the
I know
funny
what I'm
thing
doing.
is, I think what's going to happen. Okay, I mean, this is me, crazy optimist, right? I think what's going to happen is I hope that part 2 is going to be a huge hit, or or at least a new audience will find part 2, right? Hopefully everybody from part 1 will buy part 2. But anyway, so part 2 will be, players will find part 2, they'll play, they'll be like, okay, that's pretty cool. They'll play part 1 and be like pros at it,
Huh.
and they'll be like, oh man,
Because the controls and everything are pretty much all the same, right?
they're going to be pretty much the same. Yeah, in fact, what I'm doing even now is, as I like tweak things or fix bugs, because it's basically the same engine from part 1, but it's like added with the sandbox elements and other stuff as I keep going. When I find a bug, I fix part 1 too, and stuff like that, or like an enhancement. So I'll try to keep it like that,
Because it's basically the same engine, right?
It's the same engine. It's like a ladder, you know what I mean?
Huh.
Here's like the first step, but I keep going back. If I find a bug or a little thing that I found like a weird glitch or whatever, then I go back and fix that one. But yeah. So definitely in the beginning, you'll be able to get in trouble or not, like hopefully you'll stick around and hopefully you'll stick around the early places till you get a better ship. And I'll probably incentivize it by putting some missions there too, like story missions. Usually you see like story missions.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, the nice thing about these games is a lot of these single player opening games, they have a good mix of story missions and open stuff. Like
Right.
Privateer and Freelancer, especially Freelancer, was like, oh, here's a story mission. Now go make some money until you're level 11.
Exactly.
Then, oh, by the way, we need you again.
Right. Yeah. So what I might even do, I might like put like a bunch of enemies around you and say like, hey, pay us 20,000 credits or we'll blow you up or something. You know what I mean? So there's like a little bit of a limiter to keep you in the general area.
Right.
Yeah.
what
See what
would
happened
be
there.
what would be kind of a cool, like a tutorialization kind of thing to get you into the game and then dump you out in the world, right? Because you said you were like one of those enslaved guys, and then you're
Yeah.
What about if they have like, here's a ship, you're a gladiator, right? So it's just kind of like, yeah, they're making you fight other guys, and once you've beaten like
that'd
5
be fun.
progressively harder guys, then it's like, oh, you won your freedom, get out the door.
Right.
And,
So yeah, what I'll do something like that. Like I played this game Equinox like 6 months ago or something, or a
Oh,
year
yeah,
ago.
good old Equinox.
It was
Yeah.
like on sale. I bought it for like $2 or something. And I was amazed, right? So I'm playing this and I'm like, hey, the first mission had you like shooting at debris.
Right.
And I'm like, man, what a brilliant idea. Debris doesn't shoot back,
It's true.
but it's not super boring, Oh, you're shooting debris, it's gonna smack into blah blah blah, It's
you
not
could have
super
him shoot
boring.
Brian. He doesn't shoot back once either.
Sure I do. I shoot you in the back.
Oh yes, that's right. Don't
So
ever
you
play
get like
Space
a
Beast
progressively harder tutorial mission where first you're shooting up the debris, then you're like shooting up some weak pirate guy, And the first area will be a little easier to miss. There'll be less opportunities to fly further out, And you'll be given like story missions to get some more money. Plus you'll be able to upgrade your ship. So you'll be like, okay, well I want it a little faster or a defensive turret or whatever, that sort of a thing. Plus pirates will be like, hey, give me X credits or I'll kill you, and you'll pay up. You know what I mean? And then later on, either you'll be the pirate guy or you'll be like mopping the floor with them. Either way, it'll feel better, If you're mopping the floor with the guy who like beat you up for your lunch money, right? It's
Right.
gonna feel a little more satisfying then. you know.
It's good to have pirate options. We've found that we really like having pirate options.
Yeah, so like a lot of
Whoa,
stuff I'm
whoa.
gonna try doing with like how Mount and Blade did it, where it was seemingly simple, but you had sort of these options, like you could raid a village type of stuff, you know,
Right.
kind of like that. Not exactly like that, but it was, oh, you didn't quite fly in there. I got to make that bigger. The collision, yeah, I got to make it a little bigger because of Brian.
Ah. I'm happy to be. I'm just
Kidding.
happy to be a tester for you.
Yeah, actually, you shouldn't be able to buy that ship. Wow.
No, I don't have the money for it.
Yeah, you shouldn't
Like
be able to buy
like at
military
all.
ships. So with military ships, you're not going to be able to buy them,
Oh,
but you'll be able to like steal them, you know,
really?
until you take over a base. Yeah, you probably don't want to take any missions here because although you could do the defend the base, you'll see a big firefight. You might even be okay if you try to avoid like you try to avoid the fight. You might be okay. If you try to let the ships like do the fighting for you and just run around like crazy. But you might see like a pretty nice firefight with the ships there.
Now I'm already liking how even in this early. Oh, it crashed again. That's okay.
Ooh,
That's okay.
you got to find those.
How the sausage is made, folks. This is how the
You know what
sausage
it is?
is
It's
made.
probably the altitude pole code that's screwing it up. That's
Man.
why.
Yeah, yeah.
It
It's
broke my heart, Paul. I drew you pretty pictures in MS Paint and everything.
I remember those, man. I still feel guilty about those. I did create it. There is an altitude pole though in there.
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Like we went back and played it again because I whip it out every couple of months and mess around and
Hey,
still lose.
hey, BlackRock. This is a pre-alpha. It says right there, pre-alpha. This is.
Yeah, I hope when I release, I'll keep that there. I'll be like, hey,
Be nice to me. It's a
so what I
pre-alpha.
did do is, which is a really smart thing. I have to praise myself. I'm like, hey, if you find a crash bug, and if I can replicate it, I give you a Steam code for free. You know.
Oh,
And I gave away 40 codes.
that's pretty great, actually.
So 40 crash bugs were found, okay? And some of them were pretty silly. But either way, there's a chance that the person might have not told me or taken the time to tell me about a crash bug. So, I mean, for me, it worked out really well. You know, the game is really, part one is pretty damn solid compared to how it was, you know, hate to admit it. But definitely that policy will still be in place for part two. If you help me out, you know, I'm not money grubbing. I'm gonna thank you in however I can. If it's, hey, giving you a code, definitely I'll help you like that.
Well, you can totally tell you're not money grabbing because of how modest your new Kickstarter is. You're not asking for a lot.
So there's problems with that, you know, because people see that and they're like, oh, okay, you know, who cares? You know, money is like this big thing in our society where the more money, the more attention you get.
Right.
You know, it's like
Well,
if
you
I
got
was asking,
wicked rich on that first game though. So
you know what? I mean, if you consider, you know, working from home and making yourself breakfast, hot breakfast, and waking up at 7 a.m. instead of 6 a.m., or actually waking up whenever I want.
yeah.
You know, rich man, I am loaded.
Oh
Okay?
no, totally.
I am living the life.
When-
now.
But honestly, the game did not do too bad, right? Because I went over to Steam Spy, and
Yeah,
it's
I
like
kinda
what, like
hate that
20,000
website.
thereabouts. That's probably about 19,000 more than I sold. So I think you're doing not terrible.
Yeah, it sold
know?
quite a lot more than that. Not super a lot more, but a lot more than it says on Steam Spy. But
Oh, that's good.
the thing is that, you know, it could have sold it 10 times better. Oh man! But here's the awesome thing, right? Being one guy, I divide stuff by one. You know, and I don't have employees. I have contractors, so I can control, you know, how the money goes out. You know, so the great news is I made enough to make part two or to work on part two.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully part two will make enough that I can work on part three or part 2.5 or whatever, you know? So, I mean, I can't complain. I mean, I'm living my own dream. You know, if you asked me 2 years ago, like, hey, Paul, what's your dream? I'd be like, well, you know, working from home, making games. That's what I'm living, you know?
That's pretty great, actually.
It's pretty great. It's got some funny side stuff with it, you know, because like sales from the game from part one, they always go down, you know. They only go up when there's like a summer sale or winter sale or whatever.
Right.
That's when they spike, you know. Like I got featured on the summer sale, which was great. I don't know if I'll get featured on the winter sale. But anyway, sales always go down. So my future is always uncertain, you know. Okay, now here's a guy whining, right? It's ridiculous. I have like no room to whine, but when you have a steady job, you know what you're gonna get like as a paycheck, you know. So you almost know how much you can spend.
Right.
When I'm like this, I have no idea, you know. So I end up like not spending like almost anything.
Well, that's smart.
So I'm even like living in a way I feel poorer than ever before while being, you know, having much bigger nest egg in the bank than ever before. You know, it's funny.
But you know
what?
That's actually where I want to be. Although I'm not disciplined enough to do that. Right? Is to actually have some frugality and have like you know something put back that is peace of mind. Right? So I mean that's great because then you're not living day to day.
And I was like that, and you know, when I was younger. And
game development encourages good fiscal habits. So when your mother says nothing will ever come of those video games,
exactly,
just tell her no. I'm actually going to learn how to budget and calculate my burn rate and all that.
My parents were on me so much about playing video games. I would play them in secret, you know. What I would do is instead of studying, I would be reading game manuals, but have the game manual in the book open. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yep.
So yeah. But definitely, I should have studied more math and physics.
I sent my mom a text from E3, and it just said "neener neener." So
she's like, "What?"
It's like nothing will ever come of that, right?
So I see a gate over here. Now, is this map one system, and each game will have multiple systems?
So that's up for debate. That's up for decision making. The problem is, right, because you want a big world,
right?
But you don't want a big empty world.
Sure.
You want it big enough that there's like exploration, but not so big that you're like sitting there for 2 minutes flying from one spot to another.
Right.
You know. So whether there's going to be gates that take you someplace else, I don't know. Personally, I try to avoid it, have everything in one spot.
Right.
So it's sort of like this one area of space, and you travel between them. And right now, you sort of use this overworld map, but it'll be more seamless in the final game, where you can actually fly from one spot to another. Not so much in this mode, in that map mode. So that's still up for debate. It really depends on how many base assets I get. Like right now, I think you see like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah. I have a few more of these.
Oh, okay.
But I can't like be really repeating the more unique looking ones. Like this is a generic one that we're seeing right now, like a generic trading base.
Right.
But the more unique ones, like we can't like be like repeating them all over the place. So it'll you know. It'll sort of depend how the assets go and things like that. But there'll be like radiation fields, debris fields, stuff like that. It'll be a little more populated. The life of the game will be more popular. There'll be like repair ships. There'll be just battles just happening. You're just flying by, like battles happening. Stuff like that, you know. So, but a lot of stuff is up in the air still. How it actually turns out.
So if I go over to the Kickstarter and I back it at whatever level, answer me about that. But so I pay enough that I get the digital copy of the game, mm-hmm. or maybe like up a level where I've actually bought into like alpha access or whatever, and I'm
here's the thing, right? So at $10 you get all the access after the Kickstarter ends. During my first Kickstarter, I had like alpha access for like $25 or whatever. And it wasn't even the Steam version yet. The game wasn't on Steam yet.
Right.
So not a lot of people even grabbed it because, it's a pain. You got to download it, blah, 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 This time it's going to be on Steam right away because it's already It's already pre-approved. It's already on Steam right now.
Oh,
Not
wow.
purchasable. It just exists as a storefront, coming soon.
Mhm.
So if you back at $10, you're gonna get the pre-alpha version right away after the Kickstarter ends, basically. That's gonna keep getting updated till release. So
Okay, so
I'm not
will
doing
the
that.
actual game be more than 10, or is that your price point?
It's gonna be like the first game. Brian found another bug. The cockpit showed up there outside it, like disembodied cockpit. Yeah, so
Yay.
it's gonna be like $14.99.
Okay.
What happens is, games always release on sale. So the Kickstarter price is a little bit better than the Steam early access price, because it's usually like 25% off or whatever.
Right, and I think honestly that's a really nice. I mean, I'll just say you're a nice guy for doing that, because a lot of times it's the inverse, right? So it'll be like, oh yeah, it's $100, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and then we're gonna put the game on sale for like 25 or whatever.
Yeah.
So but
So
it's
you
but it's
say
like,
nice. You say nice. My wife says sucker.
well, but the thing that I wonder in here though is, because you've seen the sales arc of the first game, right? So what price did that come out at? Was it 20 or 15 or
It was
what?
14. It was
14.
14.
Okay, so you have your initial like ski jump looking thing of sales, right? So you get your first few days, and then it trickles off, and then kind of stays about flat until you hit your first Steam sale, and then it probably spikes higher than it did on the first day. But how steep of a discount did you go in the Steam sale? Were you at like
Steam
50%?
sale. So there's the way Steam works is it's pretty funny. It's also super uncertain, but it's pretty amusing. So what happens is you give them a normal sale price. So I think I put like 35% or something, and then you put like a featured price, which I put 50%, and then it got picked for the feature and went out 50% off.
Oh, okay. So you kind of
and yeah.
gambled, like if you pick me, I'll give you. Okay.
And you got to do that price pretty. You got to do that discount pretty steep,
Uh-huh.
because Steam is a machine. They have like so much analytics that they basically know who's going to sell what, how much, and they pretty much their system, I'm sure, like optimizes the sales. Says okay, we can sell this many units.
I'm sure not only that, there's psychologists that are involved, because like, well, you see the guy that cooked up the whole Steam sale thing, like, leaves Valve and goes to be the finance minister of Greece. Obviously, he had some kind of druthers about him. But yeah, so I guess my question there is, like, the statement that I've had from other developers, and specifically the guy that made Dungeon Defenders, right? Because he wrote a nice article about this, and then I talked to him about it. Is it's like, whatever you set your price at, you can plan that you're going to sell like 20% at that and 80% at 50%. Right. So it's kind of like saying, well, if you come out at 14, then you're kind of saying, okay, I know the bulk of my sales are going to be at 7, right? So I wonder if the trend is going to be, I really want 14 for it, so let me price it at 30, so whenever it's half off, I want.
So you're absolutely right. So there's a, being a guy like me, you have to be good at all these different things, and there's just no way, So I'm just like, whatever. It's just going to be $14.99. I feel good about that. That's the reason, That's my reasoning with it. I'm like, okay, $14.99. That sounds fair. I don't want somebody like breaking the bank. I want like, little Timmy or little Jimmy.
Well, I mean,
right?
you don't punish the customer that actually is an early adopter.
I want them to buy my game and buy some other game too, that month or whatever.
Yeah.
With their Christmas money or whatever.
So if they don't own the first Void Destroyer, maybe a package deal?
Yes, package deals are great, right? So it would be awesome if when I release Void Destroyer 2, that the price is, congrats, Brian, you got the brick.
Yes.
You got twice the firepower, my friend.
Ooh, nice.
That is a pretty cool looking ship. Like, in its simplicity, it's pretty bitchin'. So I like that.
It looks mean.
It's just pure function.
It looks like a brick.
It really does. It looks mean. I like how mean it looks. It's like, don't fuck with me.
Things. I'm like, what do you look like? You look like.
So you were talking about you were talking about like outsourcing stuff to contractors and whatnot. Did you outsource the ship design, or is this like
So
these are your
the
designs,
way the
artist?
way the way that ship design works with me is like the first few ships that were made. Um,
Wow.
Depends on the artist. This ship actually has two artists involved, but like I tend to send like a similar looking thing. For this one, actually was a mech. I'm like, okay, you see this mech? Take out the legs and make the gun smaller and add an engine. You know, if you imagine like putting legs on it and taking the engine out, that'd be like a mech, right? That's how this ship came about.
So if
Some
I
other
gave you
ships,
$90 million, could
uh
I actually put legs back on the ship, and then we'd have planetary landings, and I could run around?
So yeah, that's Void Destroyer 2, where you can walk on the
Yeah.
bases, and shoot stuff, right? It's Void Destroyer 2.5. That's the idea. Um,
All we got to do is get you up to 90 million, and then
you know what? With me, it would just be like 100 grand. You know, that'd probably do it, like 100 grand. Well, I mean, probably like.
Well, it's just you. You're not opening 4 studios around the world
Because
and
I mean,
hiring.
what I do with Kickstarter money is I give it to somebody else. You know, I give it to an artist,
Right.
that type of a thing. So it's really none of it goes to me. It sort of does because I get the sales, right? So without that money, like I wouldn't sell as many copies. But that's essentially what happens. Yeah. So the next ship you should buy, Brian, is another Hornet. You should make like a wingman.
Oh, I could have done that. I could have hired this guy as a fleet, I think, but I
Not
just.
yet. Yeah, you could have. Yeah, because you still have your Hornet in the hangar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you still have it. So you could actually, I think you could transfer it to as a wingman. Not sure if I added that or not.
Oh, I'll have to
But
try
you will
it.
be able to do that.
so
I'll
I'm
have to
looking.
try that when I go back.
I'm looking on the screen here, and there's the delay, right? So, but Brian's out on the map and watching the ship fly along and stuff,
Right.
and this kind of brings me to a point that I wanted to just bring you into that conversation, because I was having it with the guy from Shallow Space the other day, and just like every game that I play that has a 3D world where you're trying to take a 2D mouse cursor on a screen and plot a point out in 3D space, right? But you don't have control of depth away from you, so it's almost like if you click, are you clicking at infinity, like up in the sky, or what? So you have to take it to the map and then point the camera down, and then say, okay, on the, let's say it's like a tabletop, right? So on the tabletop you have altitude above and below, but if I'm looking straight down at it, then I'm putting that point at a z-axis
Yeah.
of 0.
So the way I did it was that map you saw is 2D.
Okay.
That's it. It's just a 2D map. That's how I got around that. So the game is 3D. Like right now, Brian is flying in 3D space. But when you're in that map, it's 2D. It's like the globe, right? If you imagine the
Right.
globe, and you take a map of the world, it's a flat map, but it actually curves, right? If you want,
So you'll have things that are slightly above or below the center line, but it's
yeah, like
generally
those
things are, yeah.
that asteroid field. They're slightly above and below if you look at that asteroid field. But like bases will be at the 0 point. So if you imagine everything is a straight line from everything else, so that's how I justify the flat map. But it's basically just for the player idea,
Yeah, I mean
just
it's because that's the thing. The conversation that I was having with a friend of mine today, and it was like a lot of developers, they'll get it in their head like, okay, I got to have the realism thing, right? So I want like some things to be straight up from other things and whatever, but it kind of blows the playability out. But it's like they're stubborn about that. But here you've flexed and said, okay, look, we'll just do it, what works for the player, and that, which I think is great. We were talking, I think, like before we actually went on air, about Rebel Galaxy, right? And that thing has been really well received, and it was kind of shocking to me at first. It was like, wow, there is no vertical anything. It's like you're playing on a flat plane. But then after I played it for about 10 minutes, I didn't care.
Yeah, and I think, I saw a few grumblings about Rebel Galaxy. Oh, it's not a true space and blah blah blah. Which is fine, to each their own. But I mean, the game has been like top sellers list for like a week, and still being like featured by Steam. So obviously they did a lot of things right. You can't argue with that.
They did a lot of things right.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
They
the pedigree of the
did.
guys that did it, right? It's like Diablo 2, Torchlight 1 and 2. I think they know action RPGs pretty good. And then this, if you look at it, it's like, yeah, it's Diablo in space. It's just really well hidden, behind all the spacey stuff. But it's like,
I mean, it's I mean, games are meant to be fun, most of them, So
yeah,
that's all there is to it. If it's fun for whoever plays it, that's the goal,
Yeah,
matter
it's
that
just it's just the thing of like I'm pleasantly pleased. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
in
happy,
a way,
right, to see
in
that
a
this
way,
thing's
I'm
flat.
really envious that they can do it that way, in a sense that
Well,
like
it's nice
I
for
couldn't
you
do it.
because
I
then
couldn't
you
do
don't
it
have to
personally.
take the heat, because it's like you can point to somebody bitches like, hey man, this is kind of like flat, right? And then you just
I
be like,
couldn't.
yeah, look at Rebel Galaxy. Shut up.
Like I couldn't do it in the actual fighting mode.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Well, the thing is, like once you're in the fight mode, then vertical matters. But it's yeah. So and at that point, okay, so if you're going into a fight, right, and how big of a fleet of ships are you going to have, say, like mid game? Like, are you 10, 20?
Yeah, 10, 20. It'll depend which kind of ship, because you have fighters, gunships, corvettes, frigates, destroyers, cruisers, carriers, dreadnoughts. So it's going to depend,
Yeah, because in the first game, it wasn't so much. I mean, you could say, like go over to this point in space and sit there, right? But more often than not, it would be like you pick an object, like that base over there, go there.
Exactly.
Right. So it's not so much like you're just picking an arbitrary spot in 3D space. So that works better for me, especially when you're in a fight like that. And then what I ended up using the vertical positioning for was to just build formations around my cap ship.
Right.
Where I would say I want these guys like slightly above and to the right, but then whenever we'd get into combat, it was like, okay, they were spread out the way I wanted them. But of course, as soon as you engage the enemy, that all turns to shit, right? So
the whole Y plane or Z plane, whatever your terminology is going to be, gets in the way so much, with like human beings. If we were birds or fish, we'd be perfectly fine with this, because they deal with that kind of movement
I was
all the time.
thinking about if you
not.
treat it like altitude instead of just space in a different direction. So if you said, okay, this guy is at like 4 units of altitude above, and that guy's 3 units below, right? And that because that's easier for humans to deal with, is like a small number, like, oh, I got a scale of 1 to 10, like up and down, right, above and below the tabletop, instead of like the normal coordinate system that I've seen in a lot of these games, which just like boggles my mind. It's like I can't do that math in my head. But the important thing seems to be like, it's not like I have a ship at a certain altitude. I want my other ships to be on the same above or below that by a certain amount. So it's almost like if I just had instead of complete free form of any amount of distance there, if it was just in notches.
So it was relative to you.
Yeah, like if it was relative to the plane, right? So the tabletop that we're playing on here, but let's say there's like 1,000 units, kilometers, right? So you can go 1,000 kilometers up or down. I don't care that I'm like 250 kilometers or whatever. I want it to be 100, 200, 300, right? And not like the minutia in between, because it's not going to really matter. So it's almost like when you're given orders like that about moving, when it comes to like actually doing the altitude thing, if it's snapped to like increments rather than because that's always just really I'm more bitching about every other game, not so much yours, because like I said, with yours I just grab the ships and say go kill that guy, but like all these other games in Homeworld, I'm looking at you, where you actually have to position things like, I'm going to do an ambush over here. I got to hide these guys behind.
Yeah,
something.
and even
It's
then,
just a
Cape
bitch
kept
to do
it
it.
pretty close to that plane. At least in Homeworld 2, I would say
Yeah.
they pretty much, they're sort of like, yeah, this is a problem for people.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting was with Homeworld 1, right? Because we had Martin on the show. We did a show about Cataclysm, right? And it turns out he worked on
was a great
Homeworld
show.
1, 2, and Cataclysm.
Thank you.
So what was interesting about that is he was talking about when he walked into their playtest thing that nobody used the vertical. And he was just like whipping their ass because he actually knew how to use the vertical stuff.
Right.
But he realized at that point, it's like, wow, it's not really as important as I thought because nobody's using it. So
Yeah,
but a
that's
skilled player will, and that changes the balance, right?
that's like a problem for these designs. Like right now, I see Brian like never hitting the F key, which toggles smart thrust off. You can just like drift.
Oh.
And Brian tends to be always like hitting the forward key, to like speed up,
Yeah.
that type of thing, And it's funny, it's watching, like when I would watch videos of people playing Void Destroyer, I'm like, do this. It got frustrating, But it's really, it's more on me than it is on them, 100 times over.
Well, if you kickstart at the $1,000 level, Paul will call you at home and and scream at you while you're playing the
Explain
game.
it to you.
No,
Yeah.
don't do that.
Brian's the best crash finder.
I have been finding quite a few. Yes.
Gotta get you a chair next to me here.
Where are you again, man?
Chicago.
Oh,
It's
okay.
nice and 50 degrees today.
Oh, I'm
and rain.
jealous. I'm jealous.
Nah.
Though you
In-
guys
in, like-
have actual winter.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. Not when you have a driveway like mine. You could fit like a semi on my driveway for some reason. I don't know if I realized this when I bought this house. It's got such a big driveway. I'm gonna have to shovel this thing. Oh my god.
So hey,
Yeah.
there's
El
a guy in
Nino.
the chat, BlackRock, and he's asking some good stuff here. So he was saying, do you have to purchase pilots for the ships?
I
They
hope
just
you do.
generic AI.
I hope you
you
do
never
have
know
to
their name.
purchase them. I hope that that's the case. I'm not sure if it's going to be the case. That's something I hope because I like that idea.
Yeah, it would be interesting, like if they actually got better over time. Like you'd want to keep them alive.
And I hope there's some kind of upkeep where you have to there's a little bit of a downside to having a massive fleet. That it's you're sort of limited by making sure they have resources and payment and stuff like that. So you can't cheese your way through certain things, or you can set up like a bit of an economy where you have a base, and that base is like providing for your ships, and you have like repair ships and supply ships. It's not going to be super complex. My games aren't like micromanagey. They don't tend to be like that. So it's not going to be like, oh, that guy's name is Joe and his wife's name is Mary and they have a child and the child is sick. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah, but it is fun in some games like XCOM. You name your guys after your friends and then watch them get killed.
Hopefully there'll be a little bit of that at least. There'll be an attempt to have that layer, that little bit of a layer to give you a little bit more immersion in there. Where
Yeah,
it's
like
not,
it doesn't so much have
honestly.
to be there. It just has to hint that it's there.
Yeah.
And-
If it's like right now everything's really dry because you kill a pirate and that's it. But they're going to be like talking to you a little bit, or if you like rescue
that's
a
cool.
transport
Yeah, so-
ship, thank you, stuff like that. It's like at least a basic attempt to get rid of a lot of the dryness.
So that's a thing in these games when you have like other friendly AI ships that are under your control that I find to be essential. And I love it when games do this, and not many do. But if you actually have some meaningful pilot chatter about what they're doing, like if they let you know, like, hey, I acquired a target, or I'm screwed, come help me, or whatever.
The problem is like voice acting. Usually that comes in voice acting.
Well,
I'm
you
like
got me and Brian.
I'm usually against that because then it's like, hey, I'm under attack. Hey, I'm under attack. Hey, I'm under attack.
That's
Hey, I'm
true.
under attack. Hey, did I tell you I'm under attack? It
No,
gets down to
Brian's
that.
like Shatner. He can do a variety of screams and
Yeah, I always tell everybody it's like unless you're a British Asian lady, you know, I don't want your free voice acting.
Hey, do you know I'm under attack? Hey, what do I do about these guys?
oh my god,
It's
Whoa.
not
that
that.
would be so worth it if you got voice actors that actually were impressionists, and they
Oh my
because you could
god,
have Schwarzenegger and Walken and
the
just everybody.
lawsuits.
Get to the base! Run!
Oh my god, do you guys
Shoot
ever
that
see that?
guy! Go!
I
Ah!
wonder why
You see
nobody's ever
the,
done that because
the
you know, oh man, that is such a good idea. Because there's people out there that like Kevin Spacey
yeah,
a
it's
lot, but
either a
there's
really
people
good
that do a
idea
hell
or
of
the
a
worst
walk-in.
idea ever, and you gotta like invest a lot of time and money and reputation to find out.
But you
I
just
would,
make it toggleable.
I would love Christopher Walken as wingman. Hey, are we gonna go
Can you
kill that
imagine a
guy or
Warhammer
what?
40,000 Warhammer 40,000 game where like the Inquisitor talked like Christopher Walken?
What?
I said imagine a Warhammer 40,000 game
Oh.
where the Inquisitor talked like Walken.
Hey, Lieutenant, go kill that orc.
Hey, it's a heresy.
Oh,
Oh
man.
man, I
Yeah,
entertain myself now and then.
Anyway. Okay.
yeah.
So, Matalus Gaming wants to know how capturing ship
Yeah, you'll
gameplay
have
works.
you'll have a ship. You'll have a ship that does it. Like at the pirate base, you'll buy this sort of thief ship, and it's gonna have these sort of metal prongs, and it'll drill itself into the other ship, and then you'll capture other ships.
Oh,
Um,
that sounds
and
hilarious.
yeah. Like in the first game, I had ships that sort of dug themselves in, so that idea is gonna go forth from that. So yeah, you'll have to capture like military ships, but of course they're not gonna be happy with you there.
Right,
Um,
of course not.
and then military is going to be powerful, but if you want to be that guy, you'll take over the entire map. And of course, if you take over the entire map, you have to have an even bigger enemy to fight. So it might be kind of funny because in the first game you're like fighting the people that took over the map, and in the second game you're the guy who potentially takes over the whole map. It's a bit of a, what do you call that? Mirroring literary effect, or I don't know.
Oh
I
god,
don't
I
know what you
don't
call
know.
it.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't think of it. So you get a specific ship to capture. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That means
yeah,
that means it gives you something that you need to protect. And you know what? I give Privateer 2 a lot of shit for having to make your own escort missions by hiring cargo ships. Which
yeah.
is,
I actually kind of like that. Yeah,
I
Well, the
don't.
reason that people hated it in Privateer 2 is because you couldn't leave
Yeah,
until
your
the
cargo
pirates
ships
were
are
all dead.
stupid. Your cargo ships are also stupid, but
Yes.
yeah, you couldn't. You also couldn't leave. But the thing is, in a lot of games, you usually supposed to be able to handle the cargo yourself. So
yeah. They did something which was like unheard of, and they tried something new and they got blasted for it. So they should have really kept both. They should have added the new thing, but kept the traditional thing as well.
I think ultimately the cargo game that we want is called Euro Truck Sim 2, but it just needs to be in a spaceship
Space.
instead of because seriously, I mean it does like all the it's like my wife's family's in the trucking business, so
Oh, really?
I'm intimately familiar. Yeah. So it's like the whole like getting a load from somewhere. You never want to fly anywhere empty, and it would just be really cool. Like nobody's done it.
So here, you can be that space trucker guy, or you can like buy a space truck and you can be like, all right, just do your own thing.
So
And then,
basically you can hire the truck and be the escort, or be the truck and hire the escort.
Or just have them just go by themselves, or you can
Oh.
assign escorts to them and just let them go like that. So
Okay, because I'm kind of getting vibes from like the X games, like X.
yeah, so there, it's a lot. I take a lot of my stuff from X Games, but then I think I improve it in a sense that that's how I would like it.
Can I actually build my own bases and stuff though?
Yeah, you probably won't be able to build your own bases, but well, actually, it depends because there's things called platforms. You'll be able to build platforms,
Okay.
but they'll be more like defensive platforms or
Right, because a base would be like years to build. So
yeah. So you'll be able to
take
build
them, but you can't build them.
exactly. It'll be more like that, So like in X Games, the economy was really complicated to the point where you could break it. It's not going to be like this here. There's not going to be 1,000 different resources. So people that really love that, having like supply chains, they're not going to be really satisfied with Void Destroyer. It's more about action.
Yeah, there are other games you could play if you want to be a space business person.
Yeah, I think the X Games really nailed that, and in a sense of like the whole supply chain and having all these complexes and missions. I think they nailed it. So
Agreed.
I'm not going to try doing that.
No, good.
But from the usability standpoint, I'm going to improve over it because in X Games you had menus. Here you select the ship, you right click.
Right, yeah.
You select the transport ship, you right click on a base. That's it. You select the mining ship, you right click an asteroid field.
Yeah,
That's
I never fully clicked with the X Games because I was always like, if I want to run a business, I'll play capitalism or I'll play.
See, and if it's easy, then you will run a business. If you have a mining ship and you right click on a field and it just does its own thing,
Right.
You're going to do that, and you'll be like, hey, look, I made 5,000 credits, whatever.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You're going to be fine with that. If it's hard, you're not going to do it. But
yeah, if it's overly complicated, I'm not going to want to do it. Exactly.
I have to satisfy like all these different crowds of space gamers, like the economy guys, the pirates, the bloodthirsty, the mercenary, and a mix of all the above. I got to try to satisfy them all. But the nice thing is, if I put a trading ship in the game, which you have to put a trading ship in a sandbox game, right?
Of course.
It's the same code whether it's the AI or it's me.
Oh, that's
same
cool.
exact code. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of that in there where it's this kind of synergy there.
So I have a homework assignment for you, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
It's one word. It's called freelancer.
Oh,
and so I rediscovered this the other day because I skipped freelancer when it was new,
which blows my mind.
I rediscovered every few years. I rediscovered that game.
So I found the discovery mod. Right? Yeah. I started with a different mod, the Crossfire 2 mod. And then I looked, because it brings up the list of like the multiplayer, and there was like 100 and some people on this one server, but I needed the discovery mod for it. So I went and got that. And then I jumped in there, and it was like a little mini MMO, with all the other people running around and stuff. But it's that sense of economy is there, right? Because it's like you go to a base, and they'll give you a mission, like haul this shit over there, or go kill this guy, or whatever. So, it's cooking missions in the bases that sort of tailor, whatever play style you're going for. Like if you want to be that trucker, yeah, there's a mission that, you could fulfill doing that. But if you want to be a combat guy, there's probably something on the job board for that.
Yeah, it's going to be similar where, the prototype has mainly combat missions, but you can be like a repair guy, or you can have a fleet of repair ships.
You can. So who do you get your missions from? Is it NPC stations that you go to and they want stuff done?
Right now, you get them from bases. But what will happen is, just like in most sandbox games, you fly around, you see stuff happening. So they'll be like that. Plus, there'll be story missions, and just sort of like you fly around. All of a sudden, you're in a big battle or stuff like that. So right now, you sort of get in this job board type situation.
I think it would be interesting if the arc was like, you start out being the humble guy that's picking missions off the job board, and at the end of the game, you're the guy putting the missions on the job board.
Yeah. So one thought is, when you own a base, you like say, okay, I want 10 like transport ships, I want 10 repair ships, and the repair ships like will find other ships to repair type of thing. Or if you're a pirate, I'm like, I want 10 cargo stealing ships and
Yeah.
10 ransom guys, kind of like that. That should be pretty easy to do.
Well, did you ever
Generally.
play? There was a Fantasy Kingdom game called Majesty, and what was an interesting dynamic there was you would put bounties on things like, oh, there's a monster lair over here. I'll put a 500 gold
Cool.
bounty on that, and then there's just NPCs wandering around, and they'd be like, hey, there's a job over there. I'll go do that.
It's a pretty
And
cool idea.
so
Yeah.
so I was thinking, like, if you put the job board and you throw money on it and you just say, I want this done and I'm willing to pay 1,000 credits, and then some NPC will just pick that job and go do it or fail.
Yeah, because there's like the asteroid fields have pirates, like Brian sees and comes across them. They have like pirates. Right now they just spawn there, but they also come from pirate bases too. There's no pirate bases in the prototype, but so you could say you could put on a board like, hey, clear this field, and like a bounty hunter guy shows up and they do it automatically anyway, but this would be like an incentive one. Yeah, I could see that. That's pretty cool. Because then when their field is cleared, then your mining ship is going to be, oh man, looks like 4 ships are coming. Brian, you could try to evade them, by the way. You could like veer to the right. Stuff
Yeah,
like
because
that.
the way that would work would be pretty interesting, because if there's pirates, you would have to post missions to kill pirates for a reward. Because if you put the mission to go mine the ore, the miners are going to go out there and try to do that and get killed.
Right.
So you'd have to first put a mission up to go clear that out. And yeah, that could actually be pretty darn cool. Because it wouldn't be like you're specifically given the order. You're just putting the task out there, like, I want this done, somebody please do it. So and then of course, if you're sick of waiting, you get in your ship and go do it yourself.
Right. Yeah, that would be cool, because the goal is that you go from the space bum, right, to space king. That'd be a nice way. Yeah, like at the end, you're the guy putting the missions up. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Oh, that's a military guy. Don't shoot that guy. Yeah, you want that guy to clean up for you. Yeah. There's a lot of plans. I got to start like promising the moon now. Now that the Kickstarter is like about to hit its conclusion. We'll see how the last week goes, but right now it's not looking great. So I got to start promising things. So I'm promising, other games you can land on planets, right? Well, I promise in Void Destroyer you'll be able to land on the sun, and the sun will be every atom will be fully simulated. You guys still there?
Yeah, sorry, I had the mic muted. I loaded up Void Destroyer 1 in the background.
No, my mic
kind of trapped my mouse.
My mic was still muted because I had a coughing fit.
Okay.
I made it.
Guys.
I made it. Oh my god, I made it. It looks like
made it.
And my ship has a small self-repair.
There is a little bit of self-repair, so there probably will be some kind of a shield, like a bubble shield. There's going to be a little bit of that. You'll be able to upgrade it. There might be some kind of better repair system, like probably not like freelancer type where you hit a button and it's like a health potion.
I know.
I liked it, but I didn't like it. I liked it as a gamer, but I didn't really like it as a
fair.
Game designer.
That's fair. Yeah, it's basically turns it into a Diablo, but you're playing a spaceship instead of playing.
I'm like, why can't the other guys do it?
Yeah, that's the weird thing. Is like the other guys never do it. I think in the mods though, I think in Discovery they do it.
It's like a disconnect.
Example.
It's like, hey, you're playing a game. You're sitting in your basement right now. You don't want that feeling usually. You don't want the monitor staring back at you.
Right. Oh, I can't buy this ship yet. Okay, I'm gonna try and buy a wingman.
One thing in the first game that I felt that I really underutilized was you had like 5 different move modes for the ships. So I could orbit around the ship and then give it an order, like slide over that way or whatever, or I could or I could actually take direct control of the ship, and it was like the AI's on, the AI's off, and that was kind of confusing. So, what can you do for accessibility in that?
So the
Where
idea there was that those were optional, The idea
I just
there
felt
was
like
that it
I'd
was
be
optional.
doing better if I actually used them, but
And
there
the
was-
problem is when you overwhelm with options, it's not good. Some players are like, yes, this is great. I got all these options. Some players are like, oh my god, too much freedom. Stop it. You're oppressing me. And then there's everybody in between. So my idea was like, you're like, okay, I want to pilot this way. I want to pilot that way. Whatever. It's up to you. Because I'm like, hey, I love adding features. I'm just going to add this. I'm going to add this. I'm going to this. This time, Brian, try to like evade those enemy guys. Try to like steer to the right.
Okay.
Yeah. You might like avoid a fight that way.
Oh, so don't go on a straight path. I see.
When you see them pop in, you could try to like, because they're trying to intercept you before you deliver the data type of idea.
Oh, I see.
But you could try to like veer to the right and try to like avoid them. You could like try to outrun them because you still have a pretty fast ship, I guess, compared to them. So that was the idea, and you see a lot in games where they're like quote unquote watered down, but really they're polished, And my games tend to not have so much of that, They're more like raw, like brain dumps type of a thing, Indie guy ideas here. So there's going to be that still,
Well, I mean, I can see that because it's like, well, it's there, and if you don't like it, you don't have to use it, right?
Yeah, it's hard
I just felt
explaining
like,
that to people.
just felt like, well, there's so much of this, and I'm supposed to be using it, and
yeah, like for example, in the fight with the driller ship, there's like a big giant drill ship. It's like a bull. It's charging you, And I'm like, okay, well, the player should really try to evade it like a bull, like straight to the right, or use the boost abilities to get out of the way, that type of thing. But then players would run away from it, and they would keep shooting straight on at it. But straight on is where it was its like hard point, had the drill, which would like absorb damage. So they were like sending me this thing like, oh, it took me 10 minutes because I flew away from it, and the fleet was like so far behind, not doing any damage. It was like a 2-minute boss fight. So that kind of stuff, and just try to dock with the base now, just like boost
That's
forward.
exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, and you can even use the gravity drive, Shift G, and you hop to it super fast if you Shift G it. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Did it work?
It kind of worked. Whoa.
I'm not sure. I don't think it worked. Okay, whatever.
It kind of worked. It worked for like a nanosecond.
So it's afterburner. There it goes. There, I saw it worked right there.
It worked for like a minute.
So there's going to be this risk reward. You chose a high level mission with better rewards, but at the same time you got like 4 guys.
Come on, let me dock, you idiot.
And then these bases will have more of a protection.
Oh god, enemy too close. Ah, shit. Okay.
I shouldn't have put that in there. I should just let you dock, because these situations would be good where you feel like, like you got away. I'll take that out. That removes that feeling. Now you're like all bouncing around. I'm gonna change that. This type of situation, you'd feel awesome. Now
it was like, you can't get me, sucker. But now it's like, fuck. I gotta kill this guy. Fine.
Yeah. I'm gonna take that out. So, especially on courier missions where you just like want to hop into the thing, just want to deliver the data.
Shit.
So yeah, it's a challenging thing, but hey, that's what I signed up for. I'm not complaining. It's a pretty rewarding thing when somebody that likes the game says, "Hey, I loved it." It's pretty awesome. My spirits.
Where'd you go? Shit.
That helps.
Shit. No.
Yeah, that guy has twin guns, so he has more firepower, but he doesn't have any rock shields.
Yeah, I'm not making it. I'm not making it.
Yeah, when it's not the prototype, there'll be like defenders around the base that'll help you out.
That's what I was kind of hoping for.
Yeah, like if it was a military base, the assets were there.
Oh, son of a bitch.
It's not. So yeah,
Son of a bitch.
we'll fix that up.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All
And
right, so as of right now, the Kickstarter has 9 days left.
yeah, I'm hoping for the big rally.
So folks, by the time you hear that, shit, excuse me. Sorry, thank God for that mute button. Folks, by the time you hear this, there'll probably be 7 days ish left. Well, on YouTube, I don't know, but on the podcast, there's gonna be like a week left, unless you're hearing this in the future and it's already ended. But if not,
But if you're hearing it in the future, please call back to the past and give Paul the lottery numbers.
yes, give Paul the lottery numbers, or
then
send
we're
him
done.
the book with all the winning sports scores. Don't send it to Biff Tannen. That
Nice.
guy was modeled after Donald Trump. Do not send it to Biff
I'll
Tannen.
be even worse than that guy. You kidding me?
He was. I read an article that said the guy who created him modeled him after Donald Trump. I'm not even making that up.
You
I
think
think
that guy
that's-
was bad? I'll rule you guys like a king if you send me that book. I got a lot of people on my enemies list.
Oh shit.
There's a lot of payback coming if I get that book.
Well, I'm hoping you get a last minute surge because I've noticed a lot of people like do the remind me thing and then like
Yeah.
the last 48 hours are like, pfft. So
If you want to hear me whine, it's brutal these days with Kickstarter. And maybe it's
Really?
me, maybe it's the project.
no,
maybe
I don't
it's
think
like-
it's you. I don't think it's you. I've been looking at Kickstarter and they're like all these games that look great and they're like 2% funded. Like what? I think people have fatigue.
I thought my ask was like a slam dunk. I should have made it like $5,000 or something. I don't know, but it's one of those things where you can't make it too low because you're committing yourself to a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, exactly.
You're
No.
trading your promises for money. And you gotta honor that. You can't. And you can't really justify it for like $1,000 or something. It's got to make sense for both of you.
Right.
But it's brutal. I mean, no media covers you anymore. Unless you actually get funding, and then they might cover you. But then it's sort of like too late if you're struggling. Literally, like it's drying up. There's a real chance that this is not going to make it.
So what is? Do you have a plan B if it doesn't?
So plan B is to self-fund it, to keep self-funding it. Plan B is the plan where Paul is like losing the few hairs that I have left. That's the stressful plan. But it's one of those things where, hey, it's my life now. It's my full-time job now. So it's my commitment. So the game's gonna get made. It's probably going to have less ships, less sound effects, less polish, which just kind of hurts it.
Yeah, Silver Force brings up an interesting point in the chat that Space Games struggle on Kickstarter. He says because Star Citizen sucked $93 million.
It collapsed the economy. So
It collapsed the Space Game economy. Nah,
Both Star Citizen and Elite, but here's the thing: they're not really like taking money away from me.
right.
What happens is I'm in this market. I'm in this sort of market. I'm not really affected by the big guys because I'm kind of too small.
Right.
I'm kind of too small, so I'm not like super affected by them. So I'm not blaming them really. If there is such a thing as blaming them, but I think it's mostly Kickstarter fatigue. The time of year right now is also not great. It's funny because you don't want to launch in November because that's when all the AAAs launch. Like next week is Fallout. And all these,
What?
and then, yeah, Fallout's launching next week. Not next week, 2 weeks from now.
Oh, the game. Yeah.
Yeah, Fallout 4, and then
Right.
after that, all these AAAs are going to launch. But what's happening is all these indies are launching now, like Rebel Galaxy, Shallow Space, everybody else, So
Maybe
it's like
get in
it's like
while
a
people
double
still have
whammy.
money.
I tried to get out earlier, but I didn't make it. With there's all these logistics things, so I'm blaming like every single thing, including myself. But here's the thing, right? So anytime you do any major project, it's not a straight line,
Right.
When it's a success, you see the straight line, and you're like, oh wow, look at that guy, he did it, he's so great. And then you actually like read about it, or you go through it, and you're like, well, here's where it had a failure, here's a little stumble, here's a problem, here's the thing. You just gotta keep overcoming these things, You just got to keep overcoming this, and you got to keep moving forward. You got to be an optimist. You got to try to be a little bit of a pessimist to keep yourself safe, so you don't go broke or in debt, you don't hurt your family and things like that, but you got to be a crazy optimist where you're a little bit delusional, you got to be a little bit delusional, you know what I mean? You got to hear that in yourself and be like, okay, whatever, man, that's fine. You can be a little delusional, that's part of the deal. That's what you signed up for.
And so Silver Force kind of wants to. It seems like he wants to blame Star Citizen, and I don't think you can solely blame all these gamers investing in Star Citizen and not investing in Kickstarter. I mean, there have been some high-profile Kickstarter failures.
Here's what it's interesting. Okay, here's what I think is interesting is a lot of the backers to Star Citizen might not. Okay, some are like the old school Space Sim guys who I'm sort of targeting. But a lot of them are like people with disposable income. They're like kids who have a lot of time for MMOs, potentially. It's the mass appeal. They got the mass appeal. My games don't tend to have the mass appeal, or at least I haven't gotten it yet. We'll see with part 2. So I'm not really competing against them. I'm competing for like the budget guys, the sort of I like indie game guys. The people that played the X games, like X2 made it crazy complex, or played like 40 hours of X games. Sort of that's my core crowd, and they're more of the jaded bunch, maybe, maybe now. And Kickstarter is funny because you're giving money at a promise. You got to be a little bit special to do that, and I know because I backed my share. You got to be a little bit special to be like, hey, and it used to be like Kickstarter was like your early access to games. Now Steam has early access. You want to play game in development, you want to tell the guy making it what you think about it, you get early access. So Steam, all these other things, it's more challenging, but I got an established audience. I got a game I'm working off of, Void Destroyer 1. Right. So hey.
Alexander brings up a good point in the chat, sorry to interrupt. He said that Rogue System, I don't know if you know that game, that failed.
Yeah, I backed it. Yeah.
It's Kickstarter, but it's now in early access because it got a publisher.
So Rogue System, I think he really distinguishes himself.
Yeah, he does. He does by having the Falcon 4 of
I think he's really carving out a niche. It doesn't appeal to me personally, that's just me, but when I see I like watching the videos. I watched Scott Manley play. I'm like, hey, that's pretty cool. Right. I watched you play. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. But I have like no desire to play it myself. It's just me. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I hear.
But he's carving himself a niche. So hey, best of luck to the guy.
Right.
Best of luck to him. He's my thing is like I'm trying to do everything at once, which is my niche. Like, hey, I'm a real-time strategy. I'm a sandbox. Now. That's my niche.
I gotta say, I really like the sandbox. I'm really enjoying the
It's going to be so much better. Like, even today, those repair platforms you came by, they're like empty.
Right.
Well, I added like ships specifically to go there when they're damaged.
Oh.
There's going to be like repair ships flying around. There's going to be distress signals. I just added the distress signal today, and other ships are going to be doing it. So you're going to see so much life just flying around. You can deal
That's
with
important.
it or not.
That's so important.
There's going to be these little elements that are all going to combine, like an anthill. All of a sudden, it's like little tiny ants, like basic little creatures, which is what AI is really.
Right.
Down to it. But when you look at it, it seems so complex because you don't see the little seams. You don't see the little process. You see the interactions. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. I really hope to push the sandbox really well in there.
Yeah, I'm excited about that because I've been playing for a few hours now, and I've really been enjoying just flying around doing missions. That's what I love about these games, is missions.
You gave Brian that tip about hitting F to turn off the flight assist.
Right.
And I didn't realize that was there. So I'm playing Void Destroyer 1 right now, just experimenting with that. It changed my life. Like, this is a different thing because. That's kind of like Brian and I, we were playing a lot of Evacron for a while there, and that's kind of how Evacron is it's like if you thrust in a certain direction, you're going that way unless you counter it.
That's space to me, that's space to me.
Well, it gives me the ability that like I'm chasing a guy, he goes past me, And if I am just chasing him, we're just going to go around in a circle. I'll never line up on him.
Exactly.
But if I tap F, I can whip the ship around and shoot him without having to mess with the throttle. It's
And
just,
often you want to turn it off. You don't want to overshoot you don't want to overspeed your targets. You hit F, and you're going to keep moving, so you're not going to get hit as much.
Mm-hmm.
But then you just turn, the Star Fury effect.
Yep, exactly that. So yeah, I'm liking that.
Yeah, I think people playing part 2 will hop back to part 1 and be like, "Oh, this is a reasonable, difficult game."
I might do that now.
I think where part 1 overwhelmed me was like, I'm cool until the point where you get the big cap ship, and then I'm trying to be an admiral, and if I had an option to just stay in the fighter, I would have probably done better. But it sounds like you're kind of doing that in the new game.
Just for the Void Destroyer, turn on the easy difficulty just from the start. Turn it on.
Okay.
And your stuff is gonna die much slower, and it's gonna be a whole different game for you. And then a few hours in, you can turn it back on or whatever, type of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but like Silver Force saying, there's zero mass appeal. I don't necessarily need the mass appeal. I need if I get 1/10 of the mass appeal, I can make another game.
That's true.
Yeah, that's all I really need. If I can make games, then that's fine. Sooner or later, one of them might hit, or I could retire to some smaller country with better currency valuation.
So what engine is this? Your own homebrew engine, or what
This
are
is
you?
my own engine, which is made out of different parts of different components, like a rendering engine, physics engine, things like that. When I started, Unity wasn't a thing, so I'm coding it in C++, and I have absolute control over everything, which is great because I can just keep adding to it or keep changing to it.
Because I'm thinking I was talking about playing Free Space 15 years later, because of the mod stuff that people can do. And I'm wondering if you just build modability into this thing.
It's already in there. It's in there in the first game. It's in there in the second game. It's going to be even better in the second game because the sandbox picks stuff up automatically.
Yeah, I'd put just a big ass bullet point in the Kickstarter, just be like, yeah, full mod support.
Yeah,
because you gotta let them know it's there.
I think it's in there. Honestly, with the Kickstarter, it's like yelling at the wind. It's like yelling and nobody's listening. It's kind of odd. It's like eerily silent, especially now. Like even the original backers from the first one, even those guys are hesitant. They're like, oh, I'll buy it in early access, maybe. I think a lot of Kickstarter fatigue just nailed them.
Yeah,
it's pretty brutal. I got to keep trying. I got to keep my hopes up for the rally.
Because I'm thinking honestly, at this point, because Kickstarter is just sort of a pain in the ass, and you have a playable game already, so it would kind of be just fire off the early access and just say, hey, it's super alpha.
Yet.
I'll give you the first game.
But definitely not yet. But yeah, that's the contingency plan.
Right. Because honestly, I think that's probably the better thing, because it's like, hey, if I'm gonna get in the thing right now, then here's
Brian already
$10.
smacked into all these bugs. Like right now, he's not seeing the targeting indicator over that ship that he target. There's a bunch of bugs to work out. There's a lot of life to add.
Yeah, well, I don't mean today, but
the goal is February. The goal is February. I mean, if the Kickstarter fails, the big negative thing is not having all the testers from it, all the players, all the testers for feedback, things like that. That's a big negative thing. So I have to figure that out. Maybe what I'll do is 2 backers. I'll be like, hey, if you guys want to test, here's the keys. If you find the crash bug and I fix it, you'll get the game for free. You'll get the live key, stuff like that. So yeah, like Alexander is saying, promotion is the hard part, and you got to be good at all these other aspects. It's pretty crazy.
It's like just trying to get the press to respond to you is a full-time job.
And
And
it's nearly impossible, and it drains your energy, and then you feel like bummed out that it didn't happen. It's got
yeah,
all these components to it. It's pretty, it's a bit brutal there. You know,
yeah, because well, the thing, it's like they've got so many people on staff, right? And then you've got PR agencies dumping keys on you
it
like
works
shovels.
just like anything else. The media, they're just like me. They want to make money. They want to build. They want to grow.
Mm.
You want to do what they love, and that takes money because you gotta pay the bills, right?
Mm.
Um,
Well, but I mean,
so
not only that, but I'm actually writing for somebody again now,
okay, cool.
and it's my first article isn't up yet. I'm actually working on it tonight, but the thing is though, like seeing inside the sausage factory, right? So now I see the spreadsheet of we have
Yeah,
this many keys, we have this many bodies. Who can grab this thing that just came in the door and actually do it
right.
justice,
And
right? And
what they want to do is
and
they want
well,
the
what I
Google
find is it's
list,
saturation. There's more games coming in the door than
right?
we have people to write about them.
So you got to
So,
pick the ones that are going to get you most money, most exposure. You know, and here's Void
well,
Destroyer, nobody knows about. Who's going to Google Void Destroyer 2 versus who's going to Google Star Citizen? You know,
right.
there's your decision making process. So they're doing what they want to do. They have to do to survive.
Right.
I'm trying to survive too here.
Well, you need some publicity. I would say probably pick a fight with Derek Smart.
Oh
And
man, that shouldn't be hard. You know what? I got a Derek Smart story. You guys got time? I'll tell you my Derek Smart story.
Sure.
I hope he
he might be
listens
in
to
the
this.
chat room. Watch out.
So here's what's happening, right? I'm in high school, and I see this magazine. It says "Good things come to those who wait." It's got a lady like taking off lingerie, right? And it's got like Battle Cruiser 3000 AD. It tells me all these
Oh,
great things
jeez.
that we're
Yeah.
gonna do. I still remember this, all right?
Yeah, I remember that ad.
And I have $50, right? Like I had $50 every few months back then. Maybe I'm whining, first world problems or whatever, but I would have like $50 on my birthday, whatever. I'd buy the game, right? So excited by it. Holy crap, right? And it's a horrible buggy mess, right? But I still try to play it. I still try to play it. And here's Derek Smart. He's like putting on patches. He's communicating with people. I'm like, man, this guy is great. He's an inspiration. He's still coding away. He'd be doing it on a street corner somewhere if he was homeless. But when all's said and done, I'm a teenager and I'm out $50. That was a lot of money, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, I'll,
And
I'll say what he lacks in what he delivered, he more than makes up for in what would I
he's
say,
a dreamer,
endurance.
you know?
I would
He's a
I would say
dreamer. You gotta hand
endurance
it
is
to him.
that he's
You
still
gotta hand
here,
it to him.
right?
He's still here. He's a dreamer. He
Yeah.
certainly can
I,
get
f- I
publicity
find him I
and
find him to
audience.
be like the games that he makes, it's not my thing, right? But uh as far as like an industry analyst, if he says it, it's kind of like Payne Weber. It's like he might not be right, but you better be looking in that direction because he's got something in the wind, right?
Yeah,
So
he's got
so
some.
yeah,
He's
and
got he's got
it's kind of like the whole
energy
Star
to
Citizen
elevate
thing.
it. Yeah,
I'm in the middle. I'm neutral on that. I really hope that they ship the thing.
I
I
hope so
know that
too.
they're probably going to encounter some difficulties along the way, because like speaking of dreamers, like Chris is a big dreamer, and sometimes it's like he's got to have people be like, well, maybe not that, you know. So
Dreams are the bigger the dream, right?
yeah,
Bigger the challenge. You know what I mean?
yeah, and it's well, I mean, it's like dream big, deliver what you can,
There
just
you go,
deliver
Brian. You got a
something.
buddy.
I know.
So
How do you command him to do anything?
Shift A is attack. He'll just
Oh,
do it by himself, but Shift A is if you want him to attack a specific target.
just like TIE Fighter.
Exactly.
I forgot to get repaired.
Okay, yeah.
yeah,
So
I,
with
li- I
Star
like what
Citizen,
I like
you
what
gotta hand it to the guy because it is ambitious. You gotta look at the ambition. You gotta admire it. You know
yeah.
what
So
happens
it's
with it
got
is going to be up to history, but you can't fault the guy for ambition. You
Yeah,
know.
so Alexander Williams in the chat has got the quote of the week. He said, Smart has a nature which we refer to as saying he ain't wrong. He might not be right, but he ain't wrong."
I like that.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually frame that and put it on the wall. So true.
You should send it to him.
You might not be right, but yeah,
Uh,
he's definitely there's
he's
some,
entertaining, man. He's entertaining.
yeah.
I mean, his games are they're entertaining. I mean, I don't know if I got $50 worth out of it, but I got some enjoyment out of it. You
Well,
know?
if it's any consolation to you, Universal Combat's on Steam right now for free.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it'll be like your 50
I bought
bucks.
2 of his games. I bought maybe even 3 of his games. So I think that was it for me. I'm like, you know what, man? Uh, you gave it a shot. You know, you tried. You tried. And I'm talking to myself here.
Well, you know
You
what the
tried.
problem was is he didn't have me and Brian there to tell him, like, hey, maybe it should be altitude poles.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult. It's bug hunting, and bug hunting is such a difficult thing. And it seems like he always says there's no bugs in it, but I don't know, man. Whatever, man. Yeah.
I just wish he would not have put Star Citizen. I wish they would not have put up the 2014 delivery date. That was a bad idea. It should have been like 2017 or 2018.
Or they should have been like Gabe and just said when it's done.
No, you got to put a
No.
date, even if it's wrong. You got to put a date. It's unavoidable, and it's gonna be beyond that. But you know what? Best of luck to them. I'm not into MMOs that much anymore. When I was younger, I was. I'm more into single player games. I can save, I can reload, whatever. You know what I mean?
Well,
That's
did you
just
play?
me.
Because they had the free weekend. It
No,
was
I didn't
a
play.
couple weeks
I
ago.
didn't play. It's weird, but I'm almost like staying away from other space games. I really want to get Rebel Galaxy though. I really want to get that because
You
Yeah,
should.
be careful because when you start playing it, you're done for at least a
here's
week.
the thing,
my
That's all
gosh.
you're gonna do.
because now I work from home, right? So even if I play games 8 hours a day, I'm still at a net positive. Oh my God! I tell
Well, you
that to
can
my
write,
friend.
but it's a tax write-off. You buy all the games you
Exactly,
want, and
right?
then write
I
them
haven't
off
done
because it's
that because I'm
research.
like, you know what? There we go. That's some
Yeah.
comeuppance. Yeah. I I don't do that. I'm like, oh, just in case the IRS like audits me, I'm like, hey, look, I could have like cited this, but I didn't want to be a jerk. See? So with games, like, hey, it's market research. I could definitely say that. My accountant tells me I could. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah. So question: do you have kids?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
It's
So,
it's
well,
a
what
it's
about
a
are you married or girlfriend or
yeah.
something?
I have a wife of 10 years. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So does she game?
No, that's a bit of an issue where my wife doesn't understand games a lot, you know, especially like the more complex ones. She'll understand like Mario, and she loves Zuma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but from the more like first person shooters, she would have like no idea what's going on, that kind of stuff. Skyrim and Void Destroyers, like those games combined on steroids, in terms of like controls and keys, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit hard talking to her, but she's in terms of like, I bore her, she bores me with her accounting talk. She just did her CPA.
Mhm.
So she bores me with that. I bore her with the game type stuff. But whatever, that's
Yeah.
how marriage is. That's how marriage is.
Well, yeah, it's like I try to get my wife into the space games. Like, she played Eve Online and really liked that.
Cool.
But anything that's like this, I can't do it. And if it's got a mech in it, she ain't looking at it. So I think it's because I like it too much, and she's afraid that if she turns into me, then we got real trouble.
But
So
it's great because there's more. The market is opening up with mobile. There's going to be more and more fans, and they'll somewhat, not everybody obviously, but some people will move to the more hardcore quote unquote games or whatever. So I think it's a positive thing overall, except the whole thing, the App Store being everything for free and stupid, microtransactions.
that whole race to the bottom thing.
Yeah,
But what I
that's
was
not.
thinking though is like, if she's like a little bit like casual gamer, right? But it's like, she's got her thing, but it might not be yours, right? But if she's open to it, like if you make her like the usability beta tester, because you just take because all of us, we're hardcore, right? So
Right.
we're gonna say a completely different thing. But if you just put somebody at random down that has no background in this, and you say,
Right.
see if you can figure out how to fly that,
Yeah.
and if they can, then you know I can.
And some people had
So-
issues with that. They're like, "How do I turn? How do I turn?" You know, and they're like, "I can't hit anything in the game." You know, the first ship in part one is like turret guns, which just automatically track. You know, you don't have to like look at it to shoot it. You know,
Yeah.
and it was a hard concept for some people.
Yeah, because I used to mom test stuff, right? It'd just be like, hey, this thing I'm working on, sit down and play this. And she's like, no, I hate that shit. And I'm like, that's exactly why you need to be the one.
Yeah, there's
why I want you.
definite some wisdom to that. I always wanted to get my friend to come in. He plays console games. I'm like, hey, try to figure this out. Never got the chance. There's all these things I never got the chance. There's always
Yeah.
something that's like,
Oh, hey, so
Yeah.
speaking of console games, right? 360 controller.
Mhm.
Could this game do it?
Technically, yeah, but realistically, you would have to put it down every once in a while and grab the keyboard, you know. So
Well,
you
once
can't
in a
play.
while, not bad, right? But I'm thinking if you got the core functions where you could do everything with a gamepad except for like bring up the map or do whatever.
Technically, it's enabled. You could technically play with a gamepad.
Yeah, I'm
feels
just thinking
weird,
like
but-
maybe that would set your usability scope and keep you from like getting too many keys or whatever. And
Yeah.
also at that point it's like, hey, it's gamepad friendly because people are, especially since Steam or
Right. Steam
Valve
Controller.
just shipped that Steam box
They have.
that's like the repeater box, whatever
I
that
haven't
is.
gotten mine yet.
No, I ordered
Oh.
the gamepad, by the way. I'll have it in December-ish, I guess.
I don't
ordered
care
it
about the
way too late.
gamepad. I do want the link though. I want
Well,
to be
you
able
get
to
a
play
gamepad
some.
with the link, don't you?
No, they're
What?
separate products. What are you
What?
talking about?
Well, how are you gonna play anything on the link if you don't have a gamepad?
You could plug in a 360 gamepad.
You could do mouse and keyboard probably too, right?
You can actually, yes.
Oh, really?
The link
Wow.
has
On
USB.
your coffee table.
So it's just straight up a thin terminal.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it
pretty
sounds
much what
pretty-
it is.
For like
Maybe I
console
could get 'em to
games,
buy
I think
those
it's pretty
at work.
awesome.
And then
I'm very excited about it because I would love to be able to play some games like roguelikes and shit. There are some games I would love to be able to play.
Like the AAA's, like Mad Max, I would play on my big screen. I would do that. That kind of stuff.
I would play all kinds of co-op shit like Battle Block Theater and
Yeah.
and-
Stuff that's
and-
great with controller. Yeah, do that too. Yeah, but in regards to Void Destroyer, I kind of want people to drink the Kool-Aid, that kind of a thing. It sort of kind of sucks, but maybe it's like artistic vision, blah blah blah, or something.
Yeah. Well,
You
well,
know?
like what you were saying before, right? Is like, I'm going to give you the basic stuff, and then I'm also going to build a bunch of other stuff in that's optional. So it's
Right,
kind of
right,
like, well, if you got the basic stuff where I can play the game satisfactorily with the 2 sticks and however many buttons, right?
Right.
And then the rest of those keys also do stuff.
Yeah, and for
Discover
part two,
that.
that's going to work out well because here's the thing, right? Most people don't actually finish games.
Oh, I
yeah,
never
fly
finish
around that
games.
base because you keep getting snagged up.
I
on it.
know.
Fly through it
No,
or
I
fly
finished.
around
I
it.
finished a game once.
Zoom in so you don't go through the red.
Yeah,
once.
Or just go to that red marker over there.
That's what's getting me, I think. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
the hell?
So most people don't finish games. So here, that's okay because the end is like for the hardcore crowd. That's kind of idea. Like in the beginning, like Brian, he got his second ship like what hour into it or so, and now he's kind of struggling. But at the same time, there'll be more like opportunities to make money. It's smooth, but right now it's pretty like the jump to the next ship is pretty steep. It's like 100,000 credits.
yeah.
So it'll be a smoother jump in the final. But
the pacing of
hardcore
that kind of works though because it's almost a tutorial where it's like I'm going to limit you to the ship you're in,
yeah,
and then by the time you get another ship, you've probably figured this one out.
and it actually gets game actually gets easier and then it gets harder type of thing if you go to the harder areas. But yeah, the hardcore crowd will have like their own fleet, like in Void Destroyer 1. Like I pushed that on them like 10 minutes in, which was my bad. But that's what the game was about. Here you're going to get a fleet like 2 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, depending how what your skill level is, what your goals are. You might focus on getting a fleet right away, that type of thing. Or you could just be in like a better fighter or a corvette or a gunship, which is like a fighter on steroids type of thing, type of situation. Yeah, you can hit shift enter. You'll kick into overworld mode, not
Nice.
ship mode right away. You don't have to like wait for the ships to come into you. You can just like swap it. Yeah, or you can lead them away. You'll be able to hit your distress signal. They'll like come and get you. You can like lead one away. That's what I did this month.
Oh, jeez. Oh, I'm already getting hurt very badly.
Yeah, you got like one guy with you. Yeah, you might need more ships for this guy. And one of the fields has like gunships in it, which are just gonna, like melt your face. Yeah, and then you'll have like ships. You'll have ships with missiles and things like that too, and upgrades. So it'll be a bit smoother. Plus, these guys have the chain guns, which are pretty powerful at close range, and the shields they're otherwise they're pretty weak. So yeah, there's all these challenges that we'll surpass. But I think this game will. I think at least it'll be from that aspect it'll be much smoother. So a lot more people should be satisfied. But then the people that want the craziness, will still have that. Sometimes, you make sequel, you make it for like the critics, and your original guys are like, oh, you ruined it because this is different, it's easier. You know what I mean? Yeah. There you go. You are dead.
I am dead. And that is probably a great time to wrap this up because we've been talking for almost 2 hours.
2 hours of pure fun.
2 hours of pure awesomeness. So Paul,
that's why you get to come back 3 times because you're fun.
Yeah, exactly. We should bring him back guests. We have been trying to now that we've been doing this long enough. We have guests we can bring back.
But you got some great podcasts, so there's
Thank you.
It's pretty amazing. I think
we should have that Roberts guy back. Think he'll show up? No, I won't even mention the D word.
No, we should get him and Derek on at the same time.
Oh God, no.
We should do that.
I mean,
have it out,
God,
guys.
Yes.
Just get it out of your system.
Think of the
oh my God.
Think of the
just go and fuck right now and get it out of your system. Just go.
What we need is
Jesus.
We need voice actors. One guy that sounds like Chris and one guy that sounds like Derek, and then we can just kind of stage it.
Don't they both have Britishy
It'll be
accents?
A little audio drama.
Don't they have? Don't they both have slightly Britishy accents or something?
Yeah,
I think they do.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so we can just get some. Just go
down. Like a Boston one or something.
L.A. has a pretty huge British population, so I can probably go down to. There are quite a few pubs around.
You could get John Cleese.
Whatever you do, don't talk about the war. Yes.
I could have my people call his people.
I would love to get John Cleese. We'll get John Cleese. No, we'll get John Cleese as Chris Roberts and Brian Blessed as Derek Smart, and just have them, just. Oh my God, I'm having a
goal.
We need to kickstart this.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Except we take the money and run to Mexico.
Oh my God, that was amazing.
You could just delay it forever.
So, folks, thank you for watching and listening.
Better yet, we get Gary Oldman to be.
Oh God.
All right, good night.
No, you know what we get? We have a mini Flash Gordon reunion. We got Timothy Dalton, and not Timothy Dalton. Oh, it is Timothy Dalton, isn't it? He was Voltan.
Pierce Brosnan. No.
No. He was Voltan.
It was the other.
And then Brian Blessed is the Hawk guy. And you just get them.
No, Voltan was the Hawk guy.
Oh, then who was Timothy Dalton? He was
Prince of Arborea, but I can't.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, God, I need to watch that movie again.
Robin Hood.
He did look like Robin, and he also put his hand into a stump.
What's in the box? What's in the stump?
What's in the stump?
Pain is in the stump.
Oh, pain is in this movie.
Maybe it was like the phantom pain, because that's what, if you have a limb cut off, but you have a stump, and never mind.
Wow.
Good night.
So, folks, this is also the first podcast we did solely on YouTube gaming, and We had no dropped frames. It looked pretty good. We had a pretty good audience, too. I am calling you an audience. Thank you. And so, yeah, I think this is the right decision to move solely to YouTube gaming. So I'm sorry, folks. No more Twitch.
Yeah, keep an open mind. Who knows, right?
Well, I mean, if Twitch eventually does switch to HTML5 and I can find a way to reasonably stream to both of them, because, I mean, I could have two OBS open broadcaster softwares open, but that would just kill my computer, I think. So yeah, right now, for the foreseeable future, until something changes, but for the foreseeable future, we are only doing YouTube. Who knows, that might change far down in the future if Twitch gets their act together, but I'm not holding my breath. So, yeah, no more Twitch, Alexander. I'm tired of their clunky interface and Flash-based player. I'm really tired of it. And people saying it's stuttering all the time. So, thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. Next week is up in the air. I've invited a guest on, but...
For Pete.
For Pete? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm like, who's Pete? Oh, I see.
Like the Bulls. Chicago Bulls in the 90s.
Wait, what? Oh,
Chicago
right.
Bulls in the 90s.
All I remember about that is that Saturday Night Live sketch. The Bulls.
No, that was the Bears.
Well, they did both, but it was mostly
really?
the Bears. But they would also say the Bulls. The Bears. Yeah, it was mostly the Bears, but they were also about the Bulls, if I recall. Yeah, this Eric, you're right. This does seem to work better because it's an HTML5 player rather than a Flash-based player.
Yeah,
so
and I like it far more.
It's
much
easier on the resources. I mean,
Tastes
what really was the tipping point for me was seeing that the Frontier Development guys, this is what they stream on, and their streams look great. So I was like, maybe I'll
did
just
you watch
move
that
over.
stream today? I have not.
Did.
Was it good?
Did. Yes, it was. It was neat
I'll have
seeing.
to watch that.
It was neat seeing your ship land and take off, and it was really cool.
Well, they said they were going to show buggy combat.
They did. They
Yeah.
did. Yeah, that was cool. But no, you started when you're flying your Cobra over a planet, and they show you the landing interface.
Looks pretty cool.
And
Yeah,
then
so what I want to see is somebody in a Cobra strafing some unlucky bastard on the ground.
Apparently, you can do that.
Okay.
Apparently, you can do that. I didn't see the whole stream today, but apparently you can do that.
Because it's like Interstate 76. Never get out of the spaceship.
But there's also going to be AAA and missiles and stuff, and the buggies can also shoot.
Here's my final word on Star Citizen Elite other games.
Yeah.
When you're in space, you're fighting a ship. At a distance, compare my game to their game. You're shooting at a little dark blob either way. Now, the up-close screenshots might be a little different quality, but when you're shooting at little blobs,
I think Certus from the Gamers with Jobs podcast described every space game he's ever played as chasing dots on a radar screen.
Yeah, but none more so than X-Wing.
No,
Holy shit.
He
X-Wing
was looking
all
at this
about...
little screen with a little marker.
Yeah, X-Wing was
This is
just
true.
about pulling the stick back and holding it
Just
there.
hoping that your bullets will hit
I mean,
you're turning right.
So he's not. What did that one guy say earlier? He's not right, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go the Big Lebowski and go. He's not wrong. He's just an asshole. Because you could boil any game down to that kind of thing. So, and no, he's not an asshole. I love Certus. I just love that line. I love that line so much. Anyway, folks, we're getting really rambly now, so I'm gonna cut the stream. Thank you so much for watching.
I haven't even started drinking yet. Hey, Thursday.
Uh,
Multiplayer Madness.
Thursday
We're having
Multiplayer Madness, we're going to be doing that mod. What's it called?
Interregnum.
Interregnum?
Yeah, it's a mod for Sins of Vasily Empire.
Yeah,
And,
guys, we're going to be doing every week until The Force Awakens comes out. We're going to do a Star Wars game for Multiplayer Madness. That was your idea, Jim, and I think it's a great idea. So this week... Sorry, go ahead.
Best ideas.
So yeah, this podcast was kind of your idea, pretty much.
I mean, this one.
Well, not this one, but the
Oh.
whole thing.
Because I was like, we should get Paul back. Okay, go ahead.
So this week we're going to be doing this mod. Next week we are going to try and return to X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. We're going to give it another
Triumphant
whirl.
return.
Because
Get Westman on the phone.
Yeah, if you could... Where does he live again?
Norway, Sweden, somewhere.
If
Somewhere Norlandic.
Why don't you ping him and see if he is willing at all?
I will pay the man to show up. Like,
Okay.
What's your
Well,
hourly rate?
I'm
Show
fine
up.
with that too, but just ping him since you have the rapport with him. Ping him,
Yeah,
please,
I do, man.
and see if he will come on to help guide us through that horrendously puzzly mess of a mission
Yep.
that we've banged our head against like 10, 11 times.
Yeah, and if we can't get him, then I'm gonna get Jack LeMace to come in and play Mech Warrior with us.
No, that's not a Star Wars game.
I know.
There are no mechs in Star Wars.
Not immediately, but I'm just saying, one of these days.
Can you imagine mechs in Star Wars? Like Jedi mechs? Could you imagine that?
I would say we would get Jack to play his game with us, but nobody wants to play NetMech. No.
Really?
Unless you want to lag shoot about a mile in front of people. But
Remember multiplayer games lag. That's the other thing.
That's
do you
why.
remember-
That's why I
you remember
appreciate
NetMech?
it.
for
back
it.
in the day.
That's why I appreciate a good single player game. You know, like this and like Rogue. I mean, Rebel Galaxy. I always want to
Yeah.
say Rogue Galaxy, but it's Rebel Galaxy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do want to say
Hey,
Rogue
by the-
Galaxy too.
By the way, to people in the chat room, like raise your hand. I can't see your hand, but do it anyway. If you listen to Lave Radio, or you're aware of Lave Radio, if you're like an elite fan, or
It's not live.
because I've been talking to Psycho Cow, and those guys might pop.
Is that
And
what
you
a
know,
psycho
might,
cow sounds like?
no, he's Scottish.
Me. Is that what a...
Yeah, but Kilty Cow. I don't know.
Me, you motherfucker.
Well, it's kind of the moo of freedom, because it's
Me, freedom.
yeah, it's
There you
like
go.
Beefheart
There you go.
or whatever that movie was with the cows.
Oh,
Anyway,
Jesus Christ. Okay, we're off the deep end here, folks. I'm gonna go.
I
What
know,
we
I know.
say your
But
thing.
anyway,
Say your
Lave
thing.
Radio. We're gonna cross the wires soon,
At some point. At some point.
sometime after
Hopefully.
Star Wars.
After Star Wars. Yeah, after the holidays, we can do that because the holidays are gonna
Yeah.
be crazy. But yeah, thank you for watching and listening, folks. And whoever our guest is next week, we'll see you then. Bye.
Cool.
Bye,
Bye,
Paul.
guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you guys.